All right, so Tuesday's practice, back to Saturday's scrimmage, another really good defensive scrimmage. Do have a lot of offensive players out, especially skilled guys. So that's been challenging, but so we're back to work today, and then another scrimmage Saturday, and then the spring game, which we're excited about for that weekend of, baseball going on, a lot of energy around. So will be good for finally things to be opened up.
How's it going, Lane? I just wanted to see if there was an update on Luke Meyer's progression, what you've kind of seen from him this spring.
I think Luke's done a good job. He's suffered a little bit from our lack of numbers out there. So our second field hasn't been able to perform all the drills. So there's not as many reps to go around, but he's done a good job.
What do you kind of look for in a guy that young that comes into spring ball that's got a lot of talent? What do you kind of look for a guy like that? It's kind of different for each player on that scale.
Well, this is a while back, it was only quarterbacks basically. Now it's over half your class. So it's just kind of become, the norm. It's great for kids, like I've always said, to get the practices in and get the academic part in. So, it's almost impossible to be a quarterback and be ready to play without it anymore.
Go to David.
Lane, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, a player, Mark Robinson, somebody that we didn't know a lot about going into this spring, seems to be getting a ton of reps. And if you would just kind of talk about what you've seen out of him, if he surprised you, and kind of where he stands with everything right now.
Yeah, Mark's a great story. As a running back that walked on here from, I guess, SEMO, who had played the year before, I think. And really, he was ineligible because of transferring, which is another conversation. I don't know why a walk-on should ever be ineligible, but so he had to sit out and was on our service team, and just thought, wow, this guy'd be a really good linebacker too, just by how he did in special teams drills. So moved him over there, was a service team linebacker for us and did a great job. He Springer, and Otis Reese were all over there for the most part last year. So he's had a good transition.
Thank you.
Go to Neil.
Well, I saw where the NCAA ended the dead period starting June 1. I was wondering if you had gotten any additional guidance as to what that means for you guys in June. Does that mean you can have a traditional June, or are there limitations that are on what you can do?
Yeah, we've not had a call. I think ours, might be Thursday. So, they'll update us on that. The last one was just possibilities, so I don't know more than you guys.
Nick, go ahead.
Lane, with the numbers being what they are at the skill positions, what have you seen from guys like a Kentrell Bullock or a Dennis Jackson that are getting expanded roles with some other guys out?
Yeah, Kentrell's done a really good job. Very tough physical runner, coming in his second year. And Danis, has played inside for us and outside. Now he's playing more outside for us, and, really fast, and, we just got to get him going.
We'll go to Parrish.
Lane, it looked like you guys didn't really have a lot of push from the defensive line interior last year. What are you seeing in the spring physically? Will the numbers just help improve that?
Yeah, we're playing way better up there, and have done a lot better in defense in general, but especially up front. So, that had to happen, and it's really good to see, but we got a long ways to go.
What do you see in KD Hill specifically? How has he changed?
Well, we're trying to play him, at different spots inside. Really can play zero and can play shade. So, again, having no spring last year defensively, I think I've said it a million times. I think everybody, for the most part, around the country really struggled that had first-year staffs, and kids just hadn't been coached, with the new staff.
Back to David.
Following up on a question asked earlier about the dead period ending, and I know you don't have all the information yet, but you anticipate you guys being able to have a camp season, and what would the camp season mean for y'all in terms of being able to evaluate these kids first person?
Yeah, we are hoping for that to happen. And that would be huge, obviously. You know, it's very hard to sign players and get the best ones without being able to evaluate. It's as you used to say, the camp eval in some positions is more important than their game tape. Working with them and seeing how they do your stuff. So that would be great to have.
Do you think they're going to give you guys some kind of evaluation period on the road, since the spring evaluation period was kind of wiped away? Do you anticipate that?
I do not. That would be news to me. I do not think that's going to happen.
Thanks.
Brought up Springer a few minutes ago and his role on the scout team last year. Just how valuable is it having somebody like him back there? And can you tell just the attitude different for somebody coming from a place like the Naval Academy?
I can. We've talked about that before. As you look at transfers, not just the player, but where they came from, the system that they're in. And, that a lot of times has to do with, whether they can come in and play early, much like NFL people look at certain college teams and programs and say there's going to be an easier transition than others. So he's been great.
Yancey, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, we see that a lot of schools are setting up official visits in June. When do you anticipate to bring in your guys? Are you going to bring them in early or continue to wait later in the process?
We're going to try not to bring very many. We just rather have that in the fall, with the game atmosphere. And but we understand there'll have to be some, and it may be early in the month, maybe late, just depends on when we get them.
Back to Parrish.
Lane, have you heard or been involved in any conversations about attendance at the Grove Bowl? We've seen what baseball has done. Well, what might the Grove Bowl look like?
It's open. So, I think once baseball is open, I think everybody figured we were, and I've not heard any different. So it's going to be open.
Thanks.